Hi, this is the August video chat. I guess we'll get into the announcements first. I I'm running a little bit behind on the next game dungeon. I actually screwed up on the recording and I had to redo some footage that sent me back a day or two. I'm guessing I don't want to say when it'll be out because I keep screwing myself up, but I'll say it's probably at least 3 more days. So, but I think it'll be a good one that a lot of people like. People watch Game Dungeon should like it. After that, in this order, the movie's taking priority. So there's not going to be much in the way of videos this month besides that. Then the website, which I was actually bottlenecking it this past week or two just because I was too busy. And then we'll see maybe a shorter Game Dungeon after that. By the end of this month, I should be able to start looking for places to move to again. For those that don't know, my apartment's been infested by mold. I've been trying to get out, except there are no free apartments for more than 2 hours at a time. And so I don't understand the full dynamics of that, but I'm adjusting. Okay, so those are the main things. So yeah, this may be not much in the way of videos. I hate saying that because I want to have videos out for people, but at some point, in order to get other things done, I need to neglect something. And this time, it's finally just the videos coming up. Because I feel like the impression is, for a lot, especially for a long time YouTubers, oh, this person's just not putting effort into it anymore. They're resting on their laurels, not doing stuff. No, it's just a matter of triage. So I'm robbing from myself to pay myself in other ways, basically, in terms of time. But once I get moved in, I guess I'll have like a stream of Freeman's Mind. I'll start spitting those out, and some other videos I've been wanting to do for a while, but I can't really without having a room for some of the recording in. Actually, for that shot in the crew, I had to go back into the evacuated room just to get that done. Let's see. Okay, and the next is I may look like a wreck in this episode because the heat has been. Okay, this apartment. This has been a problem before we ever discovered mold in the apartment, and that it would always be hot in the summer and cold in the winter, and it almost wouldn't matter what the weather was outside. It's like it was tuned to the season. And now that we found out there's water in the walls, that kind of makes sense because it must be acting as sort of a thermos. So the short version is it never cools off in this apartment. It just never. It's always, I don't know what the temperature is. I would guess about mid to high 80s. Like I always have a fan blowing on me, like at night when I'm trying to sleep, just sitting down. I don't know what the temperature is. It's the temperature where if you're just sitting still doing absolutely nothing, you're still sweating profusely. So you can, but it's not like I feel like I'm gonna die hot. So not like Louisiana, because I used to live there for a while. So you can gauge for yourself how hot that is. But it is. I don't handle the heat particularly well. I'm much better with cold, so it is making me a little crazy. So that could affect things, but I don't think that's actually hurting Game Dungeon. Let's see. Oh yeah, if I'm lucky, there may not be a new video chat next month because, fingers crossed, I'll be in the process of moving because we'll have found something. We're gonna start looking sometime late August. What? Yes. See, I lost my train of thought. So I'll put a date, but be prepared for to have that canceled or pushed back a week or something. Like I hope it's because I'm moving that it's canceled. Then I can think more sanely again and get more of the videos done. But yeah, this month is basically the movie is going to be the priority, then website, then maybe some other stuff. But the movie, I'm putting it off too much. And something I meant to mention last time, but I didn't want to reveal it yet. At some point, once I've moved and I'm doing the play sessions with fans again, I'd like to maybe try a sort of a tour in the crew with everybody who has a copy of it joining. Definitely don't rush out and buy a copy, especially since you saw the video. But, on Twitter, when it was free, I announced and told everybody to grab it. So maybe a few people have it. I'm curious how many players in the same space it can handle. Hey, maybe we can get lucky and crash the server. I don't know, but I thought of an idea of just sort of doing like a tour for that for 1 month. I wouldn't mind trying that out. So it wouldn't be a race or anything. And you wouldn't have to play it to get your car up to a certain level. You just have to get through that first mission, which is like 3 minutes. And then I think you can free wander. So it would just be like that. So at some point in the future, I want to do that. And I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I also maybe want to revisit PlanetSide 2 again at one point. Because apparently they did this big update last October. I didn't realize that might make it more enjoyable. I don't know. If that's not the case, we might skip it, but we might giving it a shot. Ross, please do a multiplayer session with the Elder Scrolls. I think you'd have to mod that for it to be multiplayer, and I don't know, but I was just mentioning that because that game was free at some point, and it might be interesting to see like how many cars can that actually handle, because when you do races, I think it's like a complete max for an MMO. It can handle a maximum race size of 8 people. So that's kind of, I don't know, but maybe we can get like just a giant train of cars going from one destination to the other. So that might be kind of interesting. Sort of a mini road trip or something. Okay, and I think that's all I can remember for announcements. Oh yeah, there's another minor one. Might as well mention. I think somebody told to me before in chat, and I didn't connect the dots. See, now I forgot his name. John Graham, who made RB in Chief for. He had the show out on Machinima's channel a while ago. This is months late that I'm finally connecting to me, but he said that he was having a lot of trouble with Machinima. They were screwing him over, pulling a lot of his videos, not responding to him. I sent him an email, but basically for anyone in a similar situation, my one word of advice is get legal advice. It may not even have to be an actual lawyer. It could just be like a law student who kind of knows a thing or two about contract law. But the person who helped me had a great quote when he was talking about Machinima. He said, "Don't try reasoning with these people. These are not reasonable people." And that's a great, but basically, steps towards legal action is the only language they understand. Okay, that's my one word of advice. Maybe with his fan base, he can get some support if he's still having trouble with that. So I thought I'd pass that along. But it applies to anyone stuck in any sort of YouTube contract or with the company Machinima especially. Yeah, that's the only language they understand. So you're wasting your breath talking with them, in my opinion. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, another minor announcement. In the last Dead Game news, some people kind of corrected me. Apparently, the situation with Steam DRM isn't quite as dire as I thought, since apparently one crack for one game can apply to another one, or similar. There's a little bit of mixing and matching. However, I'm not sure how well this stuff is documented, or if there's like a clear resource you go to for that. So it looks like those games that I was concerned about may not be as at risk as I thought. However, all the other points stand. You still have to probably break the law to get it working at that point, and you're going to have to jump through hoops to find the resources on this stuff, and which there's a lot of sites waiting to prey on people looking for that, So it's still a mess. And, no legal recourse of buying. I feel like all my other points in that video stand, but the situation may not be as completely dire as I thought. So that's good. Let's see. But again, yeah, feel free to post links or in the comment for that Dead Game News video. If you know of a good resource, I'll try and review that. YouTube likes to block almost any link as a comment because, of course, it's spam. And I typically don't get around to reviewing all that stuff. So it just, yeah, guys, for the record, it's incredibly rare that I block a comment. Mainly because I just don't have time for it. But two, I'm generally fine with most comments. It would have to be like lower than what you'd see on like restroom graffiti level for me to block it or something. If you're just criticizing or you hate my guts for some reason, I'm probably not going to block that or have a link to someplace else. But YouTube doesn't know that, so it might block it. So yeah, somebody's saying stuff like that should be illegal for the companies and not the consumer. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, actually, another person was mentioning in the comments that they think just the DRM should be blocked. It should not be up there. See, that's why I said in the video before that I'm kind of a moderate. Like I'm certainly for having no DRM, but I'm willing to take that sort of devil's bargain if, okay, we have DRM, but then at the end, once we stop supporting it and we stop selling a game, then we get rid of it. I'm fine with that. To me, that's an acceptable compromise. For other people, it's not. That would push them on the farther end of the spectrum. So, yeah, see, somebody's saying change won't happen without a class action lawsuit. See, I want to go even deeper than that. I don't think a class action lawsuit would do it unless it was like a regular and reliable thing, because people are going to lose their receipts. You need traction to get it going. I think just enforcement of the law in all these countries where games are considered products. I mean, they're classified as products. Doesn't matter if they're selling them as a service. If they don't meet the legal definition of a service in that country, well, that's a product, and you got to follow the rules of the product. So if you can show that there's a history of the company destroying their products, like that's their business model, maybe they can get hit with fines. And once you get fines from enforcement boards, that could be a different ball game. It doesn't matter on suing them or anything. It just matters on enforcing the law. And we're seeing with loot boxes, I think Belgium ruled they are gambling, and there's this other thing in Germany, I forget, that was pro-consumer thing. Anyway, the point is I think there is some room to maneuver there. Anyway, that's going to get a future video or 3 in the future, so I'm not going to get into too much on that right now. But oh yeah, and the other thing, I after I made that episode, I sat and thought about it. I've decided, for the record, if any game moves to streaming only, like that's the only way you can play it, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to play it. I'm not going to cover it. At most, if I'm really interested in it, I'll watch a YouTube playthrough. Then that'll be it. Because I decided, no, that's my cutoff point. I just can't. I can't go down that road. I'll just play a bunch of indie games that don't do that, or old games, catch up on everything else. Okay, I'll get to the questions now. And the brightness on the whoa. What? Oh no, it may change depending on what's on my screen, because it's a bit of a mess here. Okay, okay, the first question is, what's your... Yeah, and at the end, I'll take like live questions from the audience. I do this to prioritize these are ones people voted on, so I just try to prioritize what people most want the answer to. What's your opinion on video game censorship? I don't have a real strong opinion on it. I guess the main question, I sort of feel like answering that with a question, in that, what's the problem with just having a rating system? If it's too, over the top and needs like the AO rating, fine. What's the problem? Why does that need to be banned? Or, I can understand if like some sites wouldn't want to have it. Like one that I'm remembering is the Hatred game, which sort of seemed like Postal except without the humor. Like I'm probably not that interested in playing that one, because to me the humor is a pretty important component of Postal, and without that, it feels like just something I'm not really wanting. Because I like the original Postal, and 2, not 3 so much, but I don't see, like, I can understand like if a site is saying no, like like Walmart or something saying no, we don't want to sell this in our stores. Okay, fine, but I don't understand I guess it's mostly politically motivated, because that's a real sort of no effort thing a politician can do to kind of look good for a certain demographic. Say, yeah, we're protecting the children and making the community more decent, whereas that doesn't really require doing that much. It's very symbolic. and there's so many things politicians could be doing instead of that. So, yeah, I guess I don't see what the problem is with just having a rating system. And if it's the sort of thing where where the part they want to censor is really integral to the game, usually the developers can find some way to get it released in some fashion that you can still play the good version. So I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, because I remember in Carmageddon, I think, and in Germany, they had robots instead of... Yeah, in most of Europe, I think it was zombies instead of pedestrians. And in Germany, it was robots instead of pedestrians. But on the flip side, I think, for Fahrenheit and Indigo Prophecy in the United States, they cut out like some nudity and sex scenes in the United States, but then they left them in the European version. So, I mean, I don't know. But I mean, Carmageddon especially is an older game. I don't know. That's more like a political mess where they should be focusing their effort on more important stuff. Again, if they don't know what to spend their time on in the U.S., hey, water, get let out of the water. That would be my number one. So, all right, and somebody just below that is sort of piggybacking on the question. He's asking if I would consider doing the live stream Q&As on YouTube now that YouTube has improved this live streaming. Yeah, maybe. I liked having it sent to IRC. If I can do that, then maybe I could. Because that way, if the questions just fly by me, I can go back to the ones and not have to be only the people who are most, at that particular moment, what I happen to see. I can try to filter out those. I don't have to selectively choose the questions as much. I can just kind of go through the list. Let's see. Plus, it is nice having not everything on YouTube, I guess. Having some things, not having all your eggs in one basket as much as that is allowed, which isn't very much these days for digital stuff. Okay. In the Game Dungeon episode on Eternum, you said that America is headed down the same road as France was before the French Revolution, but you believe it'll end up more like Argentina. Can you explain what you meant by that? Yeah, okay, but I think I made that in 2013, but it still holds true. I haven't checked up with the state of Argentina right now. I was thinking mainly of... I feel like Argentina, maybe it's not a perfect example, but it's been a lot of places I think America is going to be headed towards at some point. Like it had its Great Depression in late 90s, early 2000s. Although I think even after the oil shocks in the 70s, that impacted its economy for decades. But prior to that, but like during that time, they had, I think it was like over 50% poverty rate. You had I think there was inflation going on. There was a debt crisis. There was a lot of tax evasion at the top of sending it like the offshore banking. You had situations where like the government's underfunded. It's enacting austerity. It's basically the money that is going in isn't going to the right places. Lots of large poverty rate, and I don't think it had like a real radical change to fix all that. Like in fact, I think there were even points where it got better for a couple of years and then it just crashed again. And I think a lot of those factors America's gonna see at some point. I mean, America is a different animal, but I mean, because of its size and having the world reserve currency. But I guess the difference is economically, Argentina got pummeled, but it just kind of keeps limping on. Whereas in the French Revolution, like that was it. They just, they stormed the Bastille. They executed people left and right. Pretty much, there was massive starvation. And you basically had a state of anarchy, and they just completely tore the government down, and it stayed like that. The reign of terror, So it's I think instead we're going to see sort of like a piecemeal government that's just sort of limping along, just as long as it can possibly go on, rather than just a complete collapse like you had in the French Revolution. So, yeah, somebody's saying here in Argentina it stops being in crisis for 7 to 8 years and then just crashes. Yeah, see, when you have a situation like that, you're not solving the fundamental problems. You're kind of propping it up with something else, maybe, borrowing from the future or something like that. Oh yeah, okay. Apparently I missed a question. Oh no, that's the next question. Okay. So anyway, the easiest answer is I think we have. I think America has too much like infrastructure and entrenchment and power and everything to just collapse. However, you could have like this sort of long collapse instead, which I think is what's more likely. So, as opposed to just sort of radical reformation or restructuring, or that's another option. Those aren't the only two options, but that's the. Okay, so I'll move on to questions. That's kind of what I meant by that. Again, maybe Argentina wasn't the perfect choice, but the point is it's seen a lot that the America hasn't quite seen on the same level yet, or at least in recent history. Okay. Are you actually just a massive mold masquerading as Ross Scott? Mold is more likely to have it's not really gonna have a form. It's not gonna be like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Instead, what's more likely to happen is it would just infiltrate your brain. Man, I have a civil protection script that I wrote a while back that I'd still like to do eventually that addresses this, or as part of the episode. Maybe I'll get that made sometime. That one had a lot of action in it though, so that one. See, all the coolest ideas tend to be some of the hardest to make. Is the problem with civil protection and other animation stuff. And then underneath that they have you played Deus Ex: Mankind Divided? No, I haven't. Although a fan was nice enough to gift me a copy last month. Actually, because of my situation right now, because I'm in the living room, I've actually one that's not. I do intend to play it at some point, but it's not top of my list. I really feel like just having played none of it, my instincts tell me it's going to be a lot like Human Revolution. And Human Revolution was an okay game. I mean, but it's not. I don't know. I think it didn't wow me so much that like, oh, I gotta have more of this. So I'd rather see other games. But what I was getting to is actually lately, for like the past couple months, because I'm in the living room now and I can never really completely block the windows, I've only been trying to play bright games, ones that don't have like a lot of dark or low lighting and they're pretty sunny and bright, because then that kind of fits well. I kind of like playing games that sort of match the mood. Like even without this, I tend not to play games that are like snowy or cold in the summer, or, tropical or jungle desert games like in the winter, that sort of thing. But right now it's just even more practical, just because I don't like having the glare from it with my focus. So I've actually, in the past couple months, I've actually played Serious Sam 3. I finally got to that one. And the Talos Principle. I got through that one. So, and those are pretty good, since those are like 90% bright light. So, let's see. Those, that's my opinion of those. They were both pretty good. Serious Sam 3 is probably my least favorite in terms of the level design. Like some of the levels are just downright ugly, I thought, with like a lot of the ruins. However, it might be the best one in terms of writing. I was laughing really hard at some of the lines in 3. I probably got a taste of what it's like for you guys watching Freeman's Mind, because there were some really good one-liners. Yeah, someone saying it sucked. I get that. I thought the gameplay was about on par. It's. I feel like each of the Serious Sams are the best in different ways, like of the series. So we'll see if 4 breaks the trend. Let's see. And the Talos Principle, I thought that one gave me hard puzzles. I was happy. Those are the kinds of puzzles I was hoping for from the Portal series, because they were not afraid to pull punches on that, so I appreciated that. I feel like I got a little self-indulgent on the story, but it was still interesting. But good gameplay. Yeah, like okay, I haven't played Serious Sam VR. I'll probably wait till I get the uh, proper VR headset because I still have the DK2 that was gifted to me. I keep hoping the Pimax AK is the one, but we'll see. It's been awfully quiet. It seems like they changed their lenses at the last moment, and now nobody knows what's going on. So, because I figure if I buy one, I want it to last years and years. But man, the others still have the screen door effect. And someone's asking if I've tried The Witness. I have not, though that might be a good suggestion for Bright Games. I did try to play. Oh yeah, I completely gave up on Firewatch. I played the first 5 to 10 minutes and realized, nope, this is not a game for me. I am the wrong demographic. They are going head first into the soap opera angle. I'm glad they established that right away. So I can scratch that one off my list, It may be a good game for sometimes. I'm glad they were honest and upfront with me. It's just, in the beginning, they're talking about like all these tragedies happening to your wife and like these sad scenarios. I was like, no. I mean, I'm not against a game being sad if it goes places with it. But like my favorite examples of that are Silent Hill 2. That's a game, starts off pretty sad and somber, but boy, it goes interesting places with it. And Max Payne. Game starts off with a tragedy. That sets him up for the man with nothing to lose. And boy, he acts like it, So I feel like, but I just don't want sadness for its own sake. I mean, so you gotta bring something to the table besides the sadness. And no, it was not giving me the vibe I wanted. So I am not going to play that one. It's wrong audience. So, but yeah, maybe I'll check out The Witness next. That one had a lot of bright shots. Let's see. Okay, someone's asking about my pronunciation of Mario and Mario in Freeman's Mime. Okay. This is probably the most unsatisfying answer. I've always pronounced it Mario, just growing up because that's all you heard, Super Mario Brothers. But I think I was trying to correct myself because I think, like if you were talking to like an Italian guy, his name Mario, you might say Mario, or maybe it just depends. So I think I was trying to do it the right way, which ended up being the wrong way for the context. So that's the answer. And then I just decided later, you know what, I should just do a Mario, whatever. My mantra for Freeman's Mind has always been move forward. Don't if you screwed up, don't worry too much. Just keep moving forward. Because they're long games to get through. Okay, let's see. And the Deus Ex guy has something else. Okay, I accidentally skipped over that. If Deus Ex 1 were to be remade, would you like to see it built upon the engine for Mankind Divided with features from the original? Or would you prefer to see a visual touch-up and bug fixes? I almost want to say, like, I don't have a strong interest in remakes unless the graphics are so dated. It's like another experience. Some people would argue it is the case like that with Deus Ex. But it's like, I already know how the game ends. I mean, I'd rather have a new story. I'd rather have a new story on a dated game engine, or a new one, or a spiritual successor, or something like that. I'd rather have something. And it sort of depends on the game too. If it like Deus Ex is one of those where like the story is a huge part of it. If it's a game where it's much more gameplay oriented, like let's say like the early Need for Speed games or something like that. And then a remake might make more sense. Or actually, hey, here's a remake I'd like to see because I never played through the original Grand Theft Auto. That would be, I would like to see that from like the standard third person ground level perspective now, because the original was just complete top down. That would be kind of like a whole different experience doing it that way. Plus, I never played through the original, but so I think remakes are best for people who never played the originals, is what it comes down to. Unless the games are just so old that it's just really a different experience playing the new one. Yeah, so, and somebody's mentioned GTA London. That'd be another one. Yeah, and GTA 2. Those are all those top-down ones. And that would take some doing to kind of retool it so that it... Oops, I hit something. Okay, recording's still going. To retool it so that it's, the third-person chase cam kind of thing. So, or taking a 2D game into the 3D world. That can kind of work. So yeah, I think that's the key. Either has to be you never play it to begin with, so great, a remake. I'll play the remake copy, or else it was so gameplay oriented that the graphics are just a welcome excuse to play it again. Because if it's the story, well, the story, So. All right, now I lost my place again. Ross, what makes the game dated? Life is Strange or just a classic? Black Mirror. Well, Life is Strange, that's one where I'm just the wrong demographic again. I think it did some things dumb, but you know what? There's games I like that did things dumb, that other redeeming qualities. However, I was the wrong audience for Life is Strange. I just thought, a game about time travel and some spooky stuff mysterious stuff going on. Normally, that would be that would be right up my alley, but no, not in their case. But as for, the textbook, it's a cheap shot, but it's such a perfect example. The textbook example of a dated game would be something like Duke Nukem Forever, where you have events that were just, like I think they have the Christian Bale meltdown. Man, that's not going to stand the test of time. Or you have others. Yeah, I think Yahtzee definitely pointed this out in his review of it. That, these are real topical things that it's just not going to last. Whereas things that are old, and they may be dated, but they still are worth watching. Whereas maybe using the slang of the time, or let's see, the fashion, the clothes that you might be wearing for that time, or technology is tricky because, don't do anything that relies too heavily on technology. However, seeing how people use that technology at the time, in their lives, that sort of thing. That'll make it dated. However, if that's not the center focus of what you're doing, then it's just like, oh, cool, this is just taking place during this time period. And there's things like that. Have jokes that don't rely too much on pop culture stuff, unless it's like real classic stuff that's, 20 years from now, people are still going to know what that is. Like, I'm trying to think examples. And you can usually get a sense of what's going to last, what won't. And see, the Black Mirror, that one's more just a period piece. You can, that would be more like Sherlock Holmes, or just some game that's intentionally setting itself in the 50s or the 60s or something like that. So, when they do that on purpose, they kind of know what they're doing. Whereas Life is Strange, they're going for contemporary when that was made. So it just depends. No, I actually like things that can kind of, you see things from the culture that maybe didn't get preserved that well in time, but then you get to see it in the game. So it's kind of cool seeing it like that. Whereas if you're going out of your way to make these references, then it can be a little off, unless you're going for just complete joke angle. If you're trying to be dated and funny, then it works, or it can work. It doesn't necessarily work. Okay, let's see. Hey Ross, which video game would you say was the biggest disappointment for you? As in, which game did you have a lot of personal investment and excitement for, only to completely fail to meet your expectations? You know, okay, this one actually, maybe it's not number one, but and this is gonna be a controversial answer. I think I brought it up in chat before. For this actually changed my behavior after seeing how this one. For me, it'd be BioShock, because I had played System Shock 2, and in my opinion, System Shock 2 was better in every single way except the graphics and maybe accessibility. You know, I mean, I felt like there was more depth to the gameplay. It was scarier. The explanation made more sense. I personally preferred the sci-fi future setting to the retro one. I mean, I followed the plot so closely. It's like elements of BioShock felt like they were just following it for its own sake. However, a lot of gamers are going to disagree with me on that. And although I encourage you to take the System Shock challenge, I've had multiple friends play BioShock first, and then I got them to play System Shock 2, and then they thought System Shock 2 was the better game afterwards. So, what? I mean, because like the ghost in BioShock felt kind of like just thrown in there or something, whereas they were kind of trying to give this explanation and this kind of wry humor to it in System Shock 2. So I don't know, but if you look at there's a preview video for okay, the reason I got most disappointed is because I actually that wasn't necessarily my favorite theme, although the concept of an underwater city sounds great. Yeah, keep that coming. Don't worry if people call you imitators. You try again on the underwater city. I'm totally down with that. But if you look, they were doing this sort of pitch video showing alpha footage, and the way they were talking about it, they were making it sound like there was this whole society and civilization inside BioShock, and the decisions you make are gonna change the course of how that flows. And that they're kind of giving me this vibe, sort of like, maybe Arx Fatalis, which I still need to beat, or something. It sounded like there were like these whole systems in it, and much more of the RPG in your first-person RPG game. And by the time I finished watching that, they had sort of won me over. Like I was thinking, you know what? I wasn't on board with this, but this sounds so interesting the way they're talking about it. And then no, it's just System Shock. It's just a dumbed down System Shock 2. That's all they were doing. So, it's, they were really overselling it to me. So that was one of the things. So now I try not to get too invested in games. That's actually one of the reasons I don't want to hear more. Actually, I have a higher level of confidence it'll be good, but much higher. But that's kind of one of the reasons I don't want to know more about Cyberpunk 2077 until I'm basically playing it, because, why get myself hyped up? I'll just go in and it'll probably be awesome, and I can, be blown away that way. I like being surprised. So, yeah, let's see. Yeah, somebody's saying the first half of System Shock 2 is way stronger. Man, I love the second half where you launch the ship into the biomass. I mean, I didn't see that coming, and that was, I don't know, maybe that doesn't hold up as well now. Although, I mean, I didn't beat the game until like mid-2000s, but I thought that was it was a big departure from the previous levels, Let's see. Okay, so let's see. What game series would you love to be a writer or a director of? This is a difficult question for me to answer because I'm so in the mindset where I need to do the movie. Like, I don't even want to think about like that would be a major undertaking where I don't want to be doing other stuff at the same time. It's like I don't even want to think about it, to be honest. And I almost want to say, depending on the game, being a director of a game could be more difficult, or perhaps much more difficult than doing a movie, because you need like a deep understanding of the mechanics also. For a movie, It doesn't matter if it has bugs. It doesn't matter if things screw up. You just need it to look good for that shot, you know? You can do all sorts of cheating you can't do on a full-fledged game. So I don't even want to think about it. I'm sorry. Like, I want to just focus on my own movie. Then maybe I could think more about other stuff. This is kind of a broad question, but what do you think of the mirror universe trope? I guess that's sort of like that episode of Star Trek where Spock has the goatee, or Spock has the beard. It can be fun. You know, it's a fun theme to work with. You know, see how, if it's like pure mirror, like just exact copy, I guess that's not as interesting. But, you know, if there's like small differences everywhere, then that can be kind of fun. I mean, nothing I'd take too seriously, I don't think, but yeah, it could be fun. Let's see. Hey, Russ, if you were a French aristocrat stuck in France during the Revolution, what would you do to survive the Revolution? Well, I guess the first thing is you try to bring as much of it with you as you could, I guess. Well, practical, not as you could. I guess with jewels or something, but you'd have to forfeit the vast majority of your wealth right away. Like your estate, all your any fancy clothes, anything that identifies you as the aristocracy, because you're automatically going to be targeted. Next, you probably want to get out of the cities, and maybe even out of France. And you might, I guess it depends when you're going. You might want to travel like not even on roads, even just. You might even want to just go with what you could take with you, just carrying on foot, even to maximize your safety. I don't know, because because you're taking the roads, you're probably going to get robbed. And if you stay where you are, they're going to find you, and so I guess, yeah, if you have any relatives, see if you can make it to them. That would be one. You may not have the skill sets or the cultural know-how to blend in with the peasantry either. So I don't know. I mean, try to get out of France if you can, and just hoofing it and surviving. That's why, you'd want to take jewels and stuff sort of as currency for emergency situations. Something you could easily carry on you, but yeah, you'd have to forfeit the vast majority of your wealth, I would think. That's the best thing I can think of, and you might still not make it. Yeah, somebody's saying the relatives would be aristocrats too. Yeah, but they might be more out in the country. They would give you, if you're lucky, they could be sort of a outpost, where they're, you can stay there for a few nights and get resituated, then head back, then keep on going, maybe go with them. Yeah, maybe once you get far enough out of the main cities, it does become safer for road travel, and in which case you can carry more supplies. I don't know. Okay, somebody's saying Marie Antoinette was caught because she rejected to travel with simple car, instead luxury, to one of them full with bottles of wine. Yeah. I mean, maybe normal carriage would work, but definitely you don't want anything identifying you as the aristocracy, Let's see. Yeah, somebody's saying this sounded like an exciting premise. Yeah, it could. Yeah, hey, good plot for a sort of a thriller or a suspense movie, or maybe a game. Okay, more questions. Hey Ross, what's your opinion on fighting games? Is there a chance for a game dungeon about a fighting game? I don't know if I have any planned. If I was on Moon Gaming, I think One Must Fall 2097 was going to be the next one I had in mind. But as for my opinion on, I've answered this before, but hey, it got voted on. I'll answer it again. That's all right. In general, I kind of like them okay, but they sort of lost something. Fighting games for me personally, they sort of lose something by not having the crowd. You know, I like having the crowd. So you know, if they get somebody gets a good combo, everybody's going, oh, you know, like people standing around watching them, or you know, doing a move. And plus, a lot of them they take like a real investment to get good at them. So if you really just sincerely enjoy the gameplay, by all means go for it. But it's like there's so many games now. I kind of want a game if I'm gonna have to like get a new skill set, you know, like learn the moves and everything. Like I kind of want more payoff for it. Like I guess the example I'm thinking of is say I want to play a new strategy game and it has like all sorts of new rules, new units and everything. Well, if it has like a really fleshed out campaign, a storyline, dialogue, all these units, do settings, yeah, sure, it might be. I feel like it's a good trade off. Whereas for fighting games, it's kind of like, well, do I really want to be like, do I really want to be really good at this? And even my really good at this isn't going to be nearly as good as the people who are really good. Like this is their life playing that game. So I don't know. They don't have as much interest to me as they used to, but I'm not in situations where I am like a crowd, or I am like with a crowd. You know. I really like having the okay well somebody's saying Mother Russia bleeds. Okay, that you're right. That's a little. I absolutely do enjoy those types. I was thinking of tournament fighters. If you're just talking about like a brawler, yeah, I like those. I don't know if Mother Russia bleeds is gonna get a game dungeon or not. I did play it. It was good. I mean, that didn't like blow my mind, but I enjoyed it all the way through. I don't know. So yeah, maybe. My first choice probably wouldn't be that game. I have another one in mind that I think I would do. So yes, if it's that kind of fighting game, like you know Streets of Rage or you know the Double Dragon type, yes, I do enjoy those games. So those are much more like tapping into the id, you know, just like. Although I don't like first-person ones very much because the camera shakes around so much. It's just I much rather have third-person for that sort of thing or side-scroller. So yeah, I do enjoy brawlers. So yeah, it's good somebody brought that up because I forgot. But yeah, tournament fighters they sort of lost my interest unless I'm in the right setting because. If it was like at a bar or something and just everybody standing around cheering or watching, then that's great. But to me, that was a big part of those types of games for me. So yeah, okay. Maybe I will have a brawler sometime on Game Dungeon. I guess Dungeon Siege sort of counts, but sort of isn't. But I've got one that definitely is. Yeah, I don't know. In the future, I might have some game. It won't be the next one. The next one's going to be like the full-fledged kind of game dungeon one. But in the future, I might have some like short, punchy game dungeon ones. Yeah, I didn't mean that as a pun, even though that's what happened. But you know, like sort of like Bozo's Night Out, but like even shorter, where it's just kind of like I just hit you fast with the impression of the game. You're like, whoa, what? And then okay, the end, bye. You know. So I may have a couple like that hopefully still a good experience, just short. Okay, let's see. Have you ever visited the place called Videochat? Maybe I'm mispronouncing it. Salt mine in Poland. No, but I am interested in it. There's a lot of variables with us traveling and going to see stuff. I mean, have to have enough free time where I don't feel like I'm falling too far behind. There's the expense of it, and oh yeah, okay. My wife wanted me to mention her. Now I remembered. She wanted me to mention her Twitter, Amazing Magda. She types in lots of stuff on that, and I hope I can encourage her to do Twitch sometime because she does Guild Wars too a bunch. But she can't have anxieties about some things. She said it's okay for me to mention that. So I don't like to pressure her into much. But yeah, I am interested in seeing the salt mine there. Oh wow, here's a good question. If you could be any protagonist of any game, who would you be? Ooh, let's see. Any game, I guess. Because some games you got to think about. You start thinking about it. Do I really want to be that person from that perspective? I may not want to be the most dangerous situation because these people are fighting for life and death in a lot of them. Let's see. Okay, because I mean, my first response was, well, one of my favorite characters in gaming was Kane from the Legacy of Kane series, Soul Reaver. But he's dealing with some really rough problems. So I don't know. Maybe I don't want to be him. I mean, he's very capable, but I guess it might be something where maybe I'm more capable than the actual protagonist. So well, it could be kind of entertaining to be the one in Life is Strange, but then I'm a woman, so I don't think I want to be that. Let's. Yeah, like Bernard and Day of the Tentacle's pretty dorky, and I could probably just clean house a lot faster than he could. Let's see. Or just ones where it's just a nice environment. Well, or just really interesting where you're going to like different worlds and there's like a lower pressure. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, somebody's saying you don't want to be a woman protagonist. I'm fine with being a woman protagonist in a game. I don't want to be an actual woman. It's what it is. Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that's got to be the answer. Here, I'll give his name, Mr. Downtempo, Roger Wilco of Space Quest, because that would be just a fantastic. You could veer way off course. He's in terrible situations, but he could avoid a lot of those too. I think that would be the best for what I can think of now. Maybe I'll think of a better one later. Roger Wilco, yeah, because he's kind of a pushover, but you could get into good situations. Okay, let's see. Do you tend to prefer games that take themselves seriously, or do you gravitate more towards the self-aware and kind of silly, hokey games? I guess I prefer ones that take themselves seriously, but it just depends. Like, well, hey, I mentioned Serious. I feel like Serious Sam is one of the best for ones that doesn't take itself completely, that is self-aware and just but see, like in the actual, that's more from the dialogue. In the actual gameplay itself, it just creates these epic situations. So it does take itself seriously in that front. It does and it doesn't, I guess because like I played something like Eternum, which didn't take itself that seriously. However, Eternum had this sort of fascinating quality to it, where just like, what is this world? And see, that's what appealed to me the most, rather than like the tongue-in-cheek jokes. So, if like the protagonist was, no, that'd be another fun one, I guess. Another fun protagonist, the Don Johns or something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a few that can pull it off. I mean, yeah, like with Sam and Max, that one, they're more self. I feel like, I feel for me personally, self-aware and really goofy stuff is quite hard to pull off in a way that I like it. That it tends to feel too hokey for me. Like I tried playing, what was it? Oh, what's the name? It's this new LucasArts spin-off. It's a LucasArts-like game. It's on the tip of my tongue. How am I forgetting this? Well, okay, somebody in chat will figure it out once the delay kicks in. But yeah, I didn't really care for it. Whereas, yeah, Thimble Park, it's something, yeah, Thimbleweed Park or something like that. I tried playing that. It just got too corny for me. like too fast. I mean, I like the visuals on it were great, but I don't know. It was just it was just a little too zany for me. So and it depends because the Secret of Monkey Island's pretty zany, but that one sort of worked for me. The atmosphere is wonderful in that one, and they slip in the self-aware jokes, but you're not choking on them. I didn't think. I mean, there are parts where it's it's a real character trying to deal with a real obstacles too. So I don't know. It's hard. It's much harder to pull those off. Where if the game's taking itself seriously, it's like okay, sure. It doesn't have to be the greatest game for me to still enjoy it. Okay. Do you think there are any genres, plot devices, premises that a video game will almost always execute better than a movie or a book would? Oh, that's a good question. I think anything. Yeah, I think there's a few. Ones where the world you have just an entire world of things to show people, because a movie only has their 2 hours or so to show you everything, whereas a game you can go off and just see everything. And oh yeah, I saw earlier, was it Ready Player One earlier this year, and man, I wanted to see. I haven't read the book, but I wanted to see more of like what the other worlds were like. They give you like this quick sort of summary of all these virtual worlds at the beginning, and that looked really cool. I want to see a lot more of that. And no, you just got that little sliver, and then it's just the main plot. You see a few, and that was it. I was thinking, well, no, I mean that seems like that's something where a game would do much better. I think games can be scary. Not that movies don't do a good job if they're done right, but I think games can hit higher highs as far as scary games, because you're not watching the character go into a scary situation. You have to make them. Like that's you going in there now. So I think games can be more scary than movies or books. What are some other things games can do better at? Okay, you know what? I think games can have more of that. Again, it's not that movies can't do them well. It's that games, the very peaks, games can do them better, in my opinion. Can get more of those epic moments where, like, again, I'm thinking of Serious Sam. Again, where the final level of like Serious Sam, the first encounter. It's just, they're throwing hundreds of enemies at you. And it's just like, you're getting this sort of feeling of survival. And then there's this and then you see in the distance, this boss, this the size of a skyscraper coming at you. He's stepping over the buildings. And like, the thing is, in a movie, you're watching the characters and you can get into it. But in the game, no, that's on you. You need to figure that out. You need to figure out what's coming at you. And then this gigantic flying saucer is coming towards a pyramid in the distance that you're running towards as you're being chased by all these enemies. It's like, you just don't get this kind of experience in a movie. It's something else, So games can really hit these highs in some areas that can still be done very well in books or movies, but it's different when it's you, and games can give you that feeling like, no, this is on you. You're not watching this character do this stuff. It's like you determine whether you're gonna get through this or not. And somebody's saying he's getting PTSD for the Serious Sam level. That's what I said. I think all the Serious Sams do things best differently. I feel like the first one had the best finale. The finale of the first was just amazing. So, and there's also that feeling. I guess you can have a little bit of this with TV shows, maybe, or like a real long book. But sometimes I think with like a strategy game, like a long campaign strategy game that was like hard to figure out, and like you kind of feel like you went through the battle a little bit, like with that, it's like, yeah, we did it, we finally did it. And I don't know. You get that sense of more personal involvement. I think you can get a deeper sense of personal involvement in the right game than you can with. Somebody's saying, "Why is there a gender identity debate in chat right now?" I don't know either. That's one of those things the internet likes to do. It's not really my bag, but yeah, I think you can get a deeper personal involvement in games than you can with movies and books. You know. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that was a good question. Okay. Oh, what happened to Gorilla Gong? You've always been quite passionate about preserving the past and future of Mishima. I know you were an advocate of Gorilla Gong. I was surprised to find the site seemingly dead. And do you have plans for a follow-up to Civil Protection of the Tunnel? I'll answer the second one first. Yeah, maybe. I have an idea for a sequel for the Tunnel, but that's lower priority than the movie. So everything that would be going to that, it's going to go towards the movie instead. And for Gorilla Gong, what happened was I got too overwhelmed. It would take a lot of time to manage it, sort of keep it running, and just basically just kind of keep it afloat and like kind of filter out the stuff that's just real garbage from the good stuff. And I just had too many other things I was trying to do. I was hoping it would reach a viewer base that like the community itself could kind of sustain it, but it never really hit those numbers. Everything just got too fragmented. So I want to say I call it a failed experiment. I mean, if I had infinite time, I would keep it going. But Ross, the audio is cracking. Uh-oh. Okay, well here let's try to. I'll cut the audio and cut it back on. Maybe that helps, or maybe it's just the transmission. I don't know. I hope that wasn't in the main recording, but yeah. In the future, if there's some big issue I really need to see, everybody start typing in capital letters. So in the chat, that'll probably get me. Let's see. See, now I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so Gorilla Gong, the simplest answer is I tried. And in fact, that may have to get retired. Even the site may have to get retired at some point. I absolutely encourage anyone to go and back that up. We'll try to have some sort of repository set up for that, so that it may not have the full functionality, but should still have like the list of all the entries and the descriptions and that sort of thing, because there really were some good items in there, but it's just I got overwhelmed, so I had to sacrifice something. That's why it's like what I plan to do this month, where I'm gonna kind of sacrifice the videos at the risk of losing some of my fan base, because I know you gotta produce stuff fairly regularly. But what? So could you find a different maintainer for Gorilla Gong? I mean, maybe. See, I'm still trying to get my main website fixed. Oh yeah, that hopefully should be happening this month. I'll do everything I can to try and get it going this month after I get a certain amount done of the movie. Yes, an important announcement. As far as I may have to freeze or take down the website for I've been told about a week, sometime this month. If I do, I'll have a Twitter post. I'll have Twitter post if there's any important news. The forum posts should all stay, so there won't be any data lost. But it could be the site's just completely inaccessible, and I'll just say, down for repairs or something. But yeah, absolutely go, if anyone feels inclined, go and back up the Gorilla Gong stuff. That's what I was getting at. Sometimes I do get legitimately overwhelmed and I have to focus on other things. I wanted to say, on the issue of dead games, I do plan to fight for that as far as I'm able. Like, again, I have a strategy, which, again, we'll get more videos on it, Uh, oh, okay. Somebody's putting in the chat. I accidentally missed a question. Look at that. Yeah. I'm put it like this. I will push as far as I can to stop games from being killed. I have a plan to stop it. Again, like trying to get countries to enforce it and get attention focused in the right directions. At one point, I may need to call upon upon you guys for help with that. Because it could be they won't pay attention to an issue unless they get a certain amount of emails or signatures or something. If that's the case, I will try to rally everyone to get it focused in the right direction. I'm not going to do it haphazardly because, if I'm calling on your help, I want it to really count for something. However, if I submit this to just every country I can, like, Australia, New Zealand, all sorts of countries in the European Union, America, I'm not so sure how much we're going to be able to do. However, that may not matter for the long plan. If I can get enforcement boards to look at this and they shoot it down, like, there's nothing. It feels like there is nothing I can do. I may not be able to carry on the fight for dead games forever, guys. So, however, I'm going to do as much as I feel I can. So, there's that. I'm not going to give up prior to that point. But, if I feel like I've been defeated to the point and I cannot win this, then, I may give up on it. But I do not feel like I'm at that point even remotely closely now. It's just real uphill battle. And the question I missed was, let's see. How likely is it I'm a bot and I've just awoken from my programming and seeing that I'm one but many versions of my programming? I'd say not very likely because I think there was in the news that the scientists did this test to see if we were living in a simulation not long ago, and they did this testing and they didn't find evidence that says we're in a simulation. And it's funny. My wife was actually quite dismayed upon hearing that. I'm still not sure why, but she was quite that was a blow for her that we're not living in a simulation. So, or at least we can't find evidence we're living in a simulation. So yeah, you're probably not a robot, man. Don't worry about it. And AI, it's just not there with being able to listen to this and follow the conversation. I mean, actually, I think I heard like even the self-driving cars, like they got fooled by fire trucks or something like that. I don't know. And that's a whole lot easier than like human consciousness and carrying out a conversation that with actual understanding, and self-awareness. Yeah, I still stand by what I said in that Robot Jobs video about, like, we're not going to have to worry about self-aware robots in our time. I mean, we could still worry about AI screwing up the world because we gave them bad directives, but that's not the same as self-awareness. So I'm standing by it, guys. You can disagree all you want, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack where you don't even know what the needle looks like. Where the needle looks like hay. For actual consciousness. Although who knows? They did do that simulation of like a worm with the AI. So maybe I'm wrong on that front, but I don't know. They managed to completely map a worm's brain and simulate that, I think. So, how do you feel about No Man's Sky getting updated to the point where it more closely resembles the original promises of what the developers hyped all those E3s ago? Okay. Have they redeemed themselves so they should not be so easily forgiven? And how do you feel about all this? And do you feel like the company has redeemed themselves? Well, okay, a couple things. One, I was never actually aware of the full hype train on No Man's Sky. I mean, I had heard of it, but apparently I found out after the fact that it got hyped up just to the high heavens and back. So you probably have to ask an expert on the game. However, let's say they fixed everything, which I don't think they have because it sounds like they're really promising the moon on that game. But yeah, if somebody's mentioning Fable Effect. Okay, somebody's saying the cracking is back. All right, I'll cut the audio again. And geez, that's weird. I hope it's just Twitch doing this. Well, okay, let's say the game's perfect. It's exactly what they promised, okay? But like now, just we're speaking hypothetically. Well, you know what? They still promised this to people for what was like $60 on release. So, you know, if I feel like they gave false expectations, so they should still offer refunds to anybody who wasn't happy with the experience. If they did do that, then I guess if they offered full refunds to everybody who just they don't want it, then yeah, I'd say that puts them in the clear. Because otherwise, wouldn't you just want to wait a couple years and get it cheaper, get the better experience cheaper? You know, because then you're selling your game on false premises, false pretense. You know, I mean, yeah, it's maybe not as extreme as some others, but so even if you get to there later, well, those people paid full price early. You know, this isn't a problem I normally have to deal with myself because I never buy anything really at full price unless it was just ridiculously cheap to begin with. But I mean, my understanding is, yes, see, somebody below this is saying it's the same thing, just they cleaned up some. I am liking the screenshots better because I never liked the color scheme I saw. I mean, yeah, some planets could have a weird atmosphere, but it look like the screenshots are better. I don't know. It seems like it's such a massive thing they were promising. Actually, this is worth mentioning. There is a term in psychology for this. I forgot what it is. Maybe somebody will know in the chat. Where you're expecting something great, it's delivered to you, and it's not great. But later, they improve it so that it's definitely better than where it was, but it's still not great. However, everybody talks like it's great now because their expectations got so pummeled that they kind of want to think that this is the great experience now. For me personally, I feel like I caught the tail end of this. Somebody's saying hyper normalization. Maybe I don't think that was it though. I got this sort of as an outsider. I remember everyone praising Diablo 3 when the expansion came out, saying, "Oh, it's all fixed. It's so much better. This is what it should have been." Blah blah blah. And I never played Diablo 3. I still haven't played the expansion, but I never played Diablo 3 until the expansion came out. A friend of mine gifted it to me then. So I played it after all the pay for money auction house and everything. And to me, it was kind of a disappointment. I mean, there was some stuff I thought, like, no, this is dumb, parts of it. Like, geez, like the story especially. But just other stuff, it's like, well, it's not a terrible game, but it's like, it's not the second coming like people were talking about. But I think what it was is they've been playing the worst version all this time, that having all these improvements, just like, oh, this is it, and they just can lose perspective. So yeah, I mean, that's controversial because I mean, anytime you get to a major game, a lot of people are really gonna love it. But yeah, somebody's saying that happened with the Division. So I haven't played that, so I don't know. But my guess is there's some of that going on with No Man's Sky. But, you know, maybe I'll play it eventually. It sure, you know, everything about No Man's Sky says if you do play this game, it's probably going to be better if you wait for them to fix more things. Yeah, I saw an image before of like how one easy fix for how to fix No Man's Sky, and the easy fix was make it an early access game on Steam and price it at $30 was the easy fix. Like from the beginning, early access game for $30. And yeah, that probably would have done it. So what are your thoughts on Nintendo suing emulation websites? Okay, honestly, I'm surprised this is major news. I would have thought they had been trying to shut down. ROM websites have been going on for decades. So I think they're probably fully within their rights to do that, especially if they're selling the game that they're hosting. So I don't know. I guess there's two sides of this. Like, there's a couple other aspects. It doesn't strike me as a surprise, and I think there are definitely arguments to be made. Nintendo is in the right in some cases. However, okay, the dissenting argument, which I actually would say probably isn't as strong, are what? One, say you have a new version. I guess the question is, what? Pretend we're writing copyright law. Is it? One is what if you have a game that's just out of print? The game hasn't been sold in like 15, 20 years, except for like third-party retailers. Like, should we really enforce piracy of that game? Because I feel like once you get to that phase, there's kind of two crowds of people. There's the collectors, like they want the game. That they say, hey, I have the original. Those are those people with, the rows of games in the back behind them, not their landlord's painting that came with the apartment like me. They want the game. So, they're going to pay top dollar for that stuff, and their actions are going to influence the market. And then there's the other people who they just want to play the game. They don't care if it's the original or something, and they don't want to have to spend $350 to play a 20-year-old game that they're interested in. I feel like there should be. If I was writing the law, I feel like there should be some provision for that second crowd. That maybe there should be like a lifespan for how long. If you're not selling your game, that it should be reasonable for it to be pirated after that point, or enter public domain, or not completely public domain, but public domain in the sense of like you wouldn't get the intellectual property rights, but you can play the game. You're allowed to play it for personal use or something like that. So you're not trying to because maybe the company just wants to do something new with the intellectual property and everything, something like that. And the other argument is, okay, let's say they're selling the game, but you know what? The new version, okay, the best example I can think of for this, the new version, they changed it, and it has things that aren't as good or real different from the original. Well, what then? The example I'm thinking of is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where I read that they got new voice actors and redid the voice acting. No, they shouldn't have done that. Look, the voice acting in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, it's like legendary. It's on the so bad it's good level. Like, it has this odd fascination to it. And then the new one's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. No, you want the original. I feel like the correct thing to do in that case is, if you don't have a copy, buy the new one and pirate the old one. I feel like that's the way to go on that, because then you're still getting the experience you want, but you're not just trying to rip them off when they're making an effort to do the new one. So now, and the thing is, so some of these. The thing is with these ROM sites, like here, I'll tell people, I was a few years ago, I was a member of a private tracker abandonware torrent site. And I got some stuff you just cannot get anywhere else but the thing is, I used it for abandonware, and that's what a lot of it was. But there were also these things where just like every Nintendo game made from this year on. And you know what? You're not doing abandonware then. That's just some of that. It was just straight up piracy. They got shut down years ago. I'm glad I got some basically priceless stuff from that. Or stuff that just would be hell to track down. And that, again, that's what I used it for. But and I get the feeling, these ROM sites, they're probably just hosting every old Nintendo game. Oh, what? Nintendo doesn't have a way for you to play Super Mario Brothers, so you're hosting that? I don't think so. It's whereas maybe there's some Nintendo titles, you know what? They just never got. So I feel like these sites, if they want to have, well, under the law, they probably have no chance at all. But if they wanted to have, maybe in a country that has more sane copyright laws, if they wanted to have an honest argument, they should treat them like abandonware sites, where they are only hosting games you can't buy that are not being sold from the developers or the publishers. Because if they're still selling, because, okay, fine, you made a game 20, it's like, what is it, Bouncing Bob Escapes from Hell. You know what? That's not abandonware. The guy made the game. He's kept it for sale this whole time. Why shouldn't he? He made the game, So, I feel like you're not necessarily entitled to an old game if the company's still maintaining it and they still want to property it. They still want to, sell it for you and support it and maintain it. Then, yeah, I don't see the problem, really. You do get into murky territory when they've really screwed over the developers and the developers aren't seeing a dime of that. And that gets real muddy waters. But just on principle, see, the thing is, my stance, like with dead games and everything, it's not that I feel like you should be entitled to like every, I don't feel like you should be entitled to every game for free or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about that, okay, you've stopped selling the game, you've stopped supporting it, or it's become completely unplayable. How do we play this game? That's the real question. So, yeah, okay, oh wow, people are saying a lot in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, well, it's a nuanced issue. It's really a kind of a case-by-case thing. That's why my big focus is, it's just, I feel like this is dead to rights wrong, where you paid money for the game, you bought the game, okay, now you can never play it. Like, to me, there's no gray area on that crap as far as what the correct course of action is. Like, we're doing, it may be difficult to do it the right way, but that's like, that's just, there's no gray area at all for that in my mind. Where, yeah, you bought it, or hey, if it was a free-to-play game, you put some money into it, you bought 100 points into the game. Now you can never play your game again. That's, to me, that's just wrong, and hopefully I can push back against that, but it's going to take a lot of work and time. So, but yeah, if it's just a site that's hosting every Nintendo game or NES game, you're kind of asking for trouble, is what I would say. I mean, at the very least, try to host the stuff that's not for sale and do it in a country that have the hosting in a country that's not going to care so much about that particular usage of it. So, yeah, it's this stuff is really case by case, and I feel like that's not a good case that they have there going on there to really rally behind that, unless we're just ready to rip up a lot of copyright law. Like if just after X years it should enter public domain, which I'd be fine with, let's say 20 years or something, or hey, maybe even 30, or the lifetime of the creator, maybe. I don't know, but like, what's a maximum case copyright law up to now? I think it's like 140 years. Yeah, that's not good. Whatever that is. Somebody's saying, is the copyright really wrong? It is in some cases, yeah. In other cases, it's kind of necessary. I mean, it's like if, I mean, yeah, the flip side of copyright law would be like something like what EA's done, where, Bethesda, or the company that later was Bethesda, they wrote code for their game. EA stole the code and put it in the Madden, and they just didn't give them anything. Yeah, they stole it. Well, yeah, that's an example where copyright laws really needed, because they stole from these people, just straight up. Yeah, somebody's saying Mickey Mouse is like 160 years. I can believe that. Whereas on the flip side, if copyright law is causing something to be impossible to view, or with games impossible to play, like no one can, then yes, it's wrong. So, the thing is, copyright law isn't just one sentence. There's different elements of it. So, yeah, no, copyright law is needed in some cases, but, well, in a lot of cases, but in other cases, it's abused so spectacularly that it just, this problem doesn't keep going away, All right, that was a much longer answer. Okay, I should start speeding up the answers because I'm getting hungry. Which video of yours strained your voice the most? And it's either Doom Guy's Mind or episode 27 of Freeman's Mind. Maybe Doom Guy's Mind, because I was really rushing hard. For both of those were April Fool's Day videos, weren't they? I can't remember if it was for episode 27 or not. I definitely have more time to work with for episode 27, so I have more time to pace it out. They were both really rough, though, mostly because of the time. If I could have added an extra week to those, it probably would have been fine. Ross, one of the things that turns me off from game... Okay, I'm summing this up. He's saying, he's talking about how a lot of older, especially PC games, you could bring down a developer console and or alter the config files and kind of tweak it the way you want to. And he hates it when you can't do that. They just lock everything down. And he's wondering, what are your thoughts on this sort of thing? When did you start noticing it? I of course prefer that. I mean, because sometimes the games are just kind of broken. I mean, I think, the original Resident Evil 4 for PC, it didn't even have lighting. It's just everything was full bright, and it just had just this list of problems. But actually, that might be another game I'll play. Maybe I'll give Resident Evil 5 a shot. That's a sunny game. I gave up immediately. I think on the demo where the field of vision was so narrow, it was literally making me nauseous looking at it. It was one of the very few games to do that. So it's I have to increase the field of vision if I'm going to play that game. And you got to do that through config files or something else. I guess when I started noticing it, I can't remember exactly which game did it. I guess, I think BioShock was a little locked down from what I remember. But I don't remember which game did it, but I will say there was absolutely a correlation between sort of the rise of consoles for first-person shooters, especially. So I guess early to mid 2000s, because during the late 90s, early 2000s, you had a lot of first-person shooters that were developed for PC first, and when they were like that, of course everybody's going to want to tweak all this stuff and do benchmarks and mods and all kinds of stuff. But once you got to the bigger slice of the pie at the time, they started making them for consoles first and then would port them over to PC. And the people making them for consoles may have never even played a first-person shooter on PC before, so it would never even occur to them to add these things. So they wouldn't even think about it. So, and they would port it over, and because I guess everything was just sort of threadbare, or there wasn't time to publish in time, that's the version you got. And oh, guess what? That game sold a lot of copies because it was still a good game despite having maybe major problems. Well, then they just do it again, and then other companies follow them, and they do it that way too. And you had a whole generation like that. I remember it being frustrated. There was this article, I think, on Borderlands. When they were creating Borderlands 2, they were talking about like this big discovery. It was like this giant discovery for them that, wow, the field of vision matters. And like it can make a difference, especially on the PC. Like this was new knowledge to them. Like it would just never occur to them. Whereas, you know what? We sort of kind of got a hang of that. Like what, in Quake at least. Maybe even Doom. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, thanks for showing up 15 years late to the party. I mean, I guess I don't have. I'm sure I guess I live in glass. You know, shouldn't throw stones in glass houses. I guess I'm guilty of some of that myself and seeing things in Game Dungeon. But the difference is, I'm not a multi-million-dollar publisher publishing games on multiple platforms. You know, and acting like, oh wow, I had no idea. You know. Even if I was publishing for a platform I never played, I would try to do proper research, find out, okay, what do players expect from this platform, and what's good for that. So, but I remember it's like they were typing this article like it was so enlightening. It's just like, you know what? I would be more impressed if this had come out 15 years ago, like that you're just now learning about this, but, you know. So it's... yeah, it's mixed. Okay, I should try and speed up here. Let's see. What's your opinion on the GTA series? I've been sort of GTA'd out. I played I played all the mid-generation ones, like 3, San Andreas, Vice City. And I just sort of got tired of it for a while. I think I tried to play 4, but then the performance was just horrendous on PC. So I don't know. I'm guessing sometimes this happens, like one of these days or maybe in a couple of years, I'll feel like, you know what, I feel like playing Grand Theft Auto again, or that kind of game again. That happens to me sometimes, where I just suddenly feel like, you know, I really feel like a fantasy game or like a strategy game. It can be months have passed before I've done that, but so far that hasn't recharged for me. I mean, they were mind-blowing, especially 3 when it came out, I mean, for the time. I mean, they're of course good games. Which one was my favorite? Well, again, I haven't played 4 and 5, so and which soundtrack or radio station? Well, the best radio station. Well, okay, the soundtrack to 1 is awesome, like the original one. Even the GTA theme is just great, you know. Yeah, up, down, down, down. Oh, the negative 27 got the power and he's bound to move any motor that gets in the way. Isn't that the power? I used to know the lyrics to that at one point. Okay, well, yeah. But my runner-up would be all the Laszlo radio talk shows in that generation of those. As for my favorite of those, I don't know. I mean, they're all pretty similar. I mean, I sort of like the atmosphere of... I kind of like how you're the mute guy in 3. Like, you speak through your actions, not your words. But I really enjoyed the gang warfare in San Andreas, so... Yeah, I don't know if I have an easy favorite. Yeah, maybe I'll get back to GTA eventually. Let's see. Do you know any good open world driving games for older systems? Well, man, that's rough because the good open world driving stuff happened. That's one where you kind of needed the technology to do it justice. No, I'd have to think about it. I'm still kind of I mean, you know, even like see Need for Speed Most Wanted, that's a good game, but it's like even then I kind of hate how they tint everything. It's like once you started getting open world driving games, then they tinted everything. I had that same complaint about Burnout Paradise. Great game. Oh, but let's tint everything with this teal or brown or whatever. Like, why? You know, but it's a great game aside from that. But see, that's not that old. Or maybe it is for what he was searching for. I mean, I really like the Test Drive Unlimited games. I still need to beat, too. But, okay. If Valve asked you to record just one or two specific lines to be the only official spoken dialogue in the entire series of Gordon Freeman, but wouldn't pay you or credit you, would you do it? Or you turn them down? Yeah, I would. I mean, it's the sort of thing where, considering the situation I'm in, I feel like I'd have an obligation to if they came to me for that. And saying, what if they did credit you or pay you? Well, of course, but I'll feel an obligation to fans, I guess. Although, you know what? Maybe that would ruin it for the diehard Half-Life people. It's like, no, keep this man out of my Half-Life. I want Half-Life pure, no stupid Freeman's Mind. I'm sure there are people out there like that, and I can respect that. So, they want to keep me separate from them. They want to keep Half-Life pure for themselves, and I wouldn't. But then that wouldn't be me. That would be Valve's decision. So, I would wash my hands, because if Valve asked me, then that's on them. So, have you heard anything about the Star Control Origins lawsuit? Just a little bit. Actually, Brian Shooter, who helps get footage for me sometimes, mentioned that. But I didn't have time to look up the details. It sounds like, was it Stardock? That they're probably in the wrong. From what I didn't get enough details. In general, it's not true all the time, but a good rule of thumb is like the more powerful company that has more money and power and resources, they should be held under more scrutiny than the smaller guy. Is usually, not always, but if it's just a good rule of thumb. What is your favorite war? Well, I mean, I don't know. Part of it's me liking the setting, partially because I grew up in that part of the world. The Revolutionary War, I kind of like the American Revolution. I kind of like that because that was sort of on the border, too, between traditional warfare versus more modern conventional tactics. Because you still had people like lining up on two sides of a hill, firing muskets at each other in volleys. And, that's the way the war had been conducted for a long time, or just, even going in melee at some points. But then I think there were plenty of battles in the American Revolution where, it's night. Okay, well, both sides just stop and, they go back to camp and go to bed and have food. It's like, okay, well, we'll take our break from the war. It's like, what? You don't think of war like that now. But you also had tactics learned from, I guess maybe the French and Indian War was more the start of this. You had guerrilla tactics. You had camouflage. You had these, you had more what we consider more kind of modern warfare techniques that weren't, or ambushes, or, well, ambushes go way back, but they're like bigger scales. So it would be that they weren't following the rules. So I like seeing things like kind of on the edge of that. That's kind of interesting from a historical perspective. Okay, any home remedies or comforts when you're getting over being sick? I mean, not really, just lots of sleep, lots of water, maybe citrus, have vitamins, soup. I mean, just the obvious, I guess. Are there any places in the world you'd like to visit in your life? I'm honestly kind of, every time I see a movie or like it seems like when I see a movie and sometimes I think, oh man, it looks gorgeous. Where was that film? It's like 90% of the time it comes out as British Columbia. So it seems like that'd be a pretty neat place to visit. I think I would like that kind of climate. Um, Part of me does and part of me doesn't because I know it would sort of be hell on earth. But I mean, visiting the jungle would be interesting, or river on the jungle, something like the Congo. But again, that just be just torture there with heat and bugs and diseases maybe. So yeah, so some. Oh yeah. Oh, and you know what? Since I've been in Europe, I eventually would like to make my way out to this alpine slide that I think was in Austria, where they just have this rail slide that goes all the way down one of the mountains. That would be awesome. I'd love to do stuff like that. Yeah, mountainous woodlands in general, I'm gonna like. So, how do you feel about the industry patching games with content advertised at launch months or years after release? Well, it's kind of like what I said in No Man's Sky. I mean, yeah, I feel like it probably robs the people who are early. It doesn't affect me much personally because that's probably when I'm playing the game anyway. But yeah, for no, it yeah, it is sort of robbing the people who bought it, on release if they're not marking it early access. Yeah, they're basically trying to get away with being early access without calling themselves early access. It's like, well, I'll get into that more. But yeah, I'm running late. I should keep going. Did anything at E3 interest or catch your attention? Yes, I entered that in the last video chat, even though the sound quality isn't as good. Have you ever been in a European country that is not Poland? Just barely. I had to cross the border from European Union to reset my passport earlier. So I spent about an hour in Ukraine. This was before the big conflict there. It was interesting. I don't have time to get into it right now, but I have sort of funny story about that. But with all these games dying left and right, do you think in the future game companies will tell the consumer to their faces that the game will be shut down? Never, unless they're compelled to by law. Never. I mean, they'll say, well, yeah, that could happen, but that's a long ways off, and we haven't really addressed that yet. That's all they'll ever say. That was all they'll ever say, And yeah, I mean, well, yeah, okay, yeah. I'll leave out the extra commentary. Apart from your wife, what is your favorite thing from Poland? Being able... Okay, this is like kind of a depressing answer, to be honest, but it's like not having to worry about, utter financial ruin so much. Because, in USA, like, if you get hit by a car, that could ruin your life financially. Plus, I mean, the cost of living is lower, so like food prices are more in line with what I can handle. So, I get less depressing answer. I feel like the food's fresher. That was like one of the first things I noticed when I came here. It does spoil faster. It definitely spoils faster than USA, but it just sort of tastes fresher. Okay. I don't know what Xbox Scarlet is, so I'm going to skip that. I'm not going to do the Deus Ex Death Scream because it's sort of late where I am right now. Maybe once I'm in a new spot. Okay, this is a good question. He's saying which 90s PC game ending is your favorite? I have to think about it. Because he mentions that a lot of PC games from that time just had bad endings, which is true, or just phoned in. They weren't bad; they're just phoned in. It's like You have this great game. At the ending, okay, we'll just make it in 5 minutes. Okay, done. Whatever. You know, I'd have to think. If there was a real Deus Ex conspiracy to take over the world and you were offered the chance to become a member, would you? Well, I guess it depends on what the end game is and what the means are. Because if it's just about like if it's like kind of forcibly taking us to utopia, yeah, maybe. But that's not what was going on at Deus Ex. They were killing like millions of people with a virus to keep the power within the Illuminati who weren't doing such a great job anyway. So no, you know. But I guess what it is if a lot of people are dying, you're probably not on the right side of things. Yeah, no, yeah, especially if you're killing. If this involves a lot of killing people, you're probably not on the right side of this, because let's say that you're going for the end justifies the means. Well, you know what? Guess what? The people who really were carrying water for you in your kill everybody who's part of the problem movement, they're probably not going to take you to the place that you wanted to go once the killing's supposed to be done, you know? So you just swap one problem for another, one bad guy for another. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of the problems are systemic rather than just individuals. So, to fight the system, that doesn't really involve killing a lot of people, actually. It's you have to go about it different ways. Okay. Oh yeah, it's asking about updates on the Life is Strange music suggestions. I got completely overwhelmed by that. I'm both glad I did that because I will go through all this stuff eventually, but I sort of regret it because I don't know how timely I'm going to go through all that. Okay, we're down to the 1 point questions. Okay, I don't know what Impossible Burger is. Apparently, it's a vegan burger that tastes like meat. Sure, I'll eat it. Um, I'm very omnivorous, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna skip the ones I don't feel like answering since we're down like the bottom here. Or that would be too much trouble to answer. Okay, somebody answered this incorrectly. He's asking about the Sam Max games. I haven't played the Telltale ones. I played the one by LucasArts, which was great. I read the anthology comic, Sam Max Highway Surfing, which is just genius. If I was gonna, in fact, I'd say if you were gonna read like one comic, that might be the one to read. From my very limited knowledge of comic books. I have not told my landlord he looks like Sean Bean. Maybe I could. I didn't want to trouble him, you know. Are you burnt out completely on Freeman's mind, or is the mold issue, other issues just making it impossible for you to make episodes? It's it's the mold. I could make them, but they'd be lower quality, and I don't want to do that. And if I just wait, should be able to make them the same quality. So I'd rather just wait, do Game Dungeon, catch up on other stuff, like the movie this month, and do that. I have not had a chance to play Dark Souls yet. I'm sure I'll try and play the first one eventually. I have not played the Nier and IER games. I might check it out. It looks quite imaginative, which I can appreciate. Yeah, that's a question I don't have time to answer. Plus, this guy has two questions. web technologies he's using for the website, uh, it's going to use an InVision platform. And it's going to get tweaked to, I don't know a lot of it. I'm almost like a freaking senior citizen as far as the web programming aspect of it. I'm almost lost on that. So I need to rely on help from others, but it's coming. I bottleneck things towards the end of last month. So you can blame that on me. Somebody's asking for advice on making a Mind series. You do not need fancy audio cables. You do not. You can do it. You can start off with just free software. That's what I did with Civil Protection, actually. I don't have. Yeah, I don't have recommendations for like a real budget mic, but maybe search online. I'm sure you can find something. If you're gonna put any money into anything, microphones where you probably want to put it. But if at all possible, try to test it. But good luck trying to find a place to do that. You know. So I have heard of Reshade for doing anti-aliasing, except what he's saying you can add multi-sampling anti-aliasing with Reshade. I think that's incorrect, but yeah, let's check the chat on that. I know you can add FXAA or MSAA. That's sort of your cheat anti-aliasing, but yeah, for the Black Mirror, I'm not sure Reshade supported that since Black Mirror was a DirectX 7 game. I'd have to check, but I think Reshade's only for DirectX 9 and up, but I'm not sure. I don't think Reshade can add multi-sampling anti-aliasing to it. Ross, would you and your wife ever consider coming to Canada? Yeah, maybe if the programs worked well. Yeah, and he's saying, yeah, so Reshade doesn't support DirectX 7. Let's see. I have played the game Fate by a wild tangent. It looked like Diablo Jr. Yeah, Diablo for kids. It didn't really grab me so much. Man, a lot of questions. I have not heard Warframe soundtrack. I'll probably give Warframe a shot eventually. It sounds like they're always adding stuff. I hear about it in game news sites. Man, a lot of questions. Okay, so sorry to neglect the live people here. Streaming online possibilities aside, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future of video games? Do you think they will be developed in fun and mind or slowly degrade nothing more than technological graphical showcases only? I think it's going to be both. The best of times, the worst of times. Because, look, we're spoiled for choice on smaller games now. I mean, you can find so many more niche games than you used to be able to. However, the AAA industry, they're going more and more into places I do not want to see them going. I mean, yeah, the graphics I'm sure will look great, but you know, I'm finding I don't care about that so much now. Like, I care about good art design, which that almost doesn't matter on what engine you're using. But you know, I'll take a game from 2000 that had great art design over bleeding edge graphics from a modern game if the one from 2000 has a better story or more fun gameplay or something. So, like even in the streaming scenario, like streaming only scenario, let's say EA streaming only, Ubisoft streaming only. There's still gonna be people on Steam or some other service or distributor making like indie games that aren't like that, or hopefully maybe at some point some middle tier studios coming back and releasing games that you can still play them in the future. So it's going to get bad and it's going to continue being great. But it's going to be both. So, oh, my throat's getting a little. Someone's giving me a request for a journeyman project. Maybe I'll do that sometime. I do have a surprise in regarding journeyman project at some point. So. Yeah, see, somebody's asking, like, what's the perfect video game? I don't know. Okay, we're down to 0 points. Okay, I'm right at the end here. Go up and put your questions in the chat. Put 3 equal signs first before your question, so it's easier for me to see it. And just put your questions in the chat. I'm looking at the bottom here. Since European Union is pretty open, have you thought of moving to another country that's more stable and with less demand for housing, like the Nordic countries? Well, I'm not sure I could afford to live in the Nordic countries, and plus that is something that comes with being in a relationship. You know, it's not just you have to consider the other person too. So my wife has family here, so I don't think it would make a lot of sense to move super far away. Let's see. And someone was wondering how I feel about people who are like kids growing up watching it. You know, it's weird. It's like I almost don't think about it. From my perspective, it's like I'm the same as I was then, just the situation's a little different. Like I don't think my personality's changed drastically. So it's just like, oh, I was a kid, now I'm an adult. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm a time traveler. That's sort of how it feels from my end. Okay, so I'm going to live questions now. I'll just sort of pick and choose the ones. Have you ever played the original Blood? Yes, I have, but you know what? I think I never beat it. So maybe I need to go through and play it through sometime. Or maybe I only played the shareware. Maybe I never did the full version. I don't know. I borrowed the full version from a friend, I remember, but... If you had a chance to write a new Deus Ex game with full creative control, would you? I would need help, but yeah, I guess so. If I had full creative control, I think I would just ignore Invisible War and just sort of... Geez, I don't know. Like maybe I would reboot it. You know, I think that's what I would do. I would reboot it, except give a fresh story. So, and just like I would probably break canon left and right because they've sort of walled themselves in, but then just try to make like I mean they're not afraid to do that with other games. Didn't they do that with Thief or something? They rebooted it. I'm not sure what the progression goes, but yeah, just get something that like hits a lot of the same beats as the original Deus Ex, but give it a new plot, new characters, and just not worry about breaking continuity, I guess, and get help from some people who really know what they're doing. Have you ever played David Cage's games? Yeah, I played the one on PC, and then Sony... Yeah, and then they announced, like Heavy Rain, they announced... At first, it was going to be for... I think... it might have been a PC-only one initially. And then they said it was going to be for PC and PlayStation 3. Cool. And then, okay, you know what? Screw PC. We're just going to play it on PlayStation 3. Bye. Yeah, so, no, I guess I didn't have a PlayStation 3, so... No, I didn't play it. I was interested in it. I did play Indigo Prophecy, which I guess was the last game they did on PC. So I haven't played Detroit or the Two Souls one. I feel like those... I love the first half of Indigo Prophecy. I felt like it was just really leading up to something cool. And then they just like, okay, let's just turn this into a cartoon or something. I don't know. The those games have struck me like, well, yeah, the one I played. I can't comment on the other ones. It's like half of them were, oh yeah, it's Indigo Prophecy. Half of it was really good, and I was enjoying it, and then the other half was dumb, and I feel like it sort of deserved the try again. That's how I felt about it. Try again. Like it struck me as like, this isn't worth writing off. Like maybe we could do better next time, you know. Have you played any ColecoVision games? Not really. That's sort of older than I like to go, to be honest. Well, let's see. I'm looking up some screenshots of. Yeah, that's well. No, this looks reasonably developed. No, I haven't. I guess just. I guess if I'm going that old, I usually tend to fall back on the Commodore 64, and there's just a whole world of odd and interesting stuff out there once you get a Commodore 64. But maybe it's the case with ColecoVision also. What are some things that propel a game from good to great? Not just the game itself, but logistically too. Well, okay. I'd say music, actually. Like if you have music that it just resonates with you, that's gonna give that game that edge, I think. Or just makes it memorable, you know. From a good game, okay. I'm trying to think in my mind from like good games to great games. I guess doing something you just can't get in another game, or doing it better than any other. Like, because again, Serious Sam, a lot of it's an enjoyable game. It's a fun game. That sort of thing has been done before, like Doom. Maybe there might have been a couple of similarities, but boy, that ending and just the boss fights, it's like that was just so over the top. It's just like, you know, it just that's what sticks in my mind, you know, years later after having played it, stuff like that, you know, or. Yeah, just a story that just, writing that nobody else can touch. I guess you really have to excel at something. You don't have to excel at everything. You just have to excel at something. Because a good game is just going to be kind of good at everything. But a great game has to have something that just makes it stand out. It could be I'm trying to think of like games where like I'm sure there's some where like the gameplay. Well, you know, well, maybe now there's some contenders I haven't checked up on, but like for a wide span, there were games like, although part of me wants to say they're good games as opposed to great, but they're very good. Like the Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander, you didn't have, that's more where the gameplays kind of sound like it, because you just didn't have battles on that scale in other games for the most part, so. Yeah. Okay. I should keep moving. I'm seriously getting a little weak and hungry, so, and thirsty because seriously, it's always like high 80s here now. Okay. Well, yeah. See, here's the problem. Somebody was mentioning that if I needed real cheap Windows mixed reality VR headset. You have those, yeah, but see, I'm still on Windows 7. I don't think they'll support that. I mean, hey, maybe if it's just dumb drivers and I can run it through Steam VR, sure. I might jump on board that to sort of, you know, get like a $200 one or something to sort of tide me over for a while until like the promised one comes along. Because it seems like it seems like not only is the Vive Pro not there yet with the field of vision and the screen door effect. I mean, I'm sure it's very nice for the time, but it's like what, with the tracking sets, it costs like what, $1,400? No. If I'm buying that, it better last me 10 years and I don't want another one because it's too good. You know? Oh, I have not played the early Elder Scrolls games. I feel like I've been a little Elder Scrolled, kind of like with GTA. It's just like, man, it could be a long time before like I really want to play another one. So, okay, yeah, this person asked in the chat. Okay, this guy asked multiple questions in the chat, so that's why I skipped it. Yeah, he's talking about global warming. Any advice on how to stop conspicuous consumption? It's That's gonna be kind of what defines us. No, no simple gradual ways. I don't think. I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of like with an analogy would be like with deer. You know, if they don't have any predators, they tend to take out part of the forest until there aren't enough. Uh, there's not enough food for them to go around, then a whole bunch of them starve off. I think that's kind of the route we're going. Um, if you were going to try to stop it, though, I think, I feel like humanity is capable of, I mean, within the laws of physics, of anything it puts its mind to. So it's kind of a where there's a will, there's a way situation. So you have to figure out how do you get the will. And I think it would have to be with just different values being indoctrinated with in society from kind of early on, like just survival. You know, again, I think I mentioned it before, but I love mentioning it in the movie The Box. At the end of the movie, they're given the option between $1 million or $100, and somebody you don't know dies. And they say at the end, they're saying something like, well, "Do you think there's hope for them?" It's like, well, just enough people have to stop pressing the button, you know. And I think we need to get ourselves in that kind of frame of mind. And it's all. I was going to go into more details on this in the New Beginning episode, but it was just getting too long. I didn't want to get too dark either, but it's all about systems. Because again, most people just go with the flow and kind of want to enjoy their lives, and so you have to look at the systems that are set up that steer people in different directions, and that's real high level macro problems that I'm not sure I have easy answers to. Probably need somebody smarter than me to look at that. To follow up, which game protagonist you could be? Question: which blank slate protagonist from a game like Elder Scrolls or Fair Empire Bloodlines you could be? Okay, blank slate one. I'm losing my mind here. Okay, I've tried. Yeah, I guess I kind of want to play a character where I can just see this like neat, fantastic world. So I'm trying to think of like what sort of blank. And I wouldn't really feel like a medieval world or maybe other planets, but only if they're like really developed. So maybe one of those. Maybe one of those like space simulation games. But even then, ones where you can like really land on the planet and go and do stuff. I'm not. Maybe I'll ask the chat like which ones meet that description, because I'm not. Because a lot of those you're just in space. Okay, well, maybe some like Space Rangers or something where you land on the planets on those, but. Okay, so maybe, and I'm told that the reshade does work with DirectX 7 if you use a wrapper to convert it to DirectX 9 or something. How come you allow people to download episodes of Civil Protection Season 1 of Freedom's Mind, but not Ross's Game Dungeon? Well, I did for the crew, and you can kind of see why there. The crew compressed so poorly, and you can see a lot of the compression on the YouTube content that I just put the archive copy up there because the codec just couldn't handle. There's a lot of fast motion stuff. The thing is, when I did that, YouTube was garbage when I first started doing that. I mean, like with Civil Protection, I mean that was reasonably clean copy at the time, and YouTube was like a muddy 240 resolution, Now most of them look pretty good on YouTube, so it's not of an issue. The Crew didn't, so that's why I released that one, and now it came with the 10 gigs. So, and it's funny because I got some comments saying, "No, Ross, your codec's bad. You should. There's no reason you should need more of this." So I was like, "Fine, here, try and compress this." And somebody say, "Oh, I broke my computer." Another person saying, "This is the worst clip I've ever tried to compress." So it really varies depending on the content. So I mean, maybe I'll host it later. It's just lower priority for me now. Maybe I'll do it for Freeman's Mind later. I mean, for Freeman's Mind too. Plus, I gotta figure out what I'm doing with all my hosting since we're switching the website. I'm told I can't have I'm told we can't link it to the same FTP that hosts the site for security reasons, like we've been doing. So I gotta figure something out. I have not seen any anime lately. Sorry. As for my favorites, it's just all the mainstream stuff. Like, because I haven't seen that much. Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Princess Mononoke, that sort of thing. I don't watch much anime at all. Although, hey, since we're watching movies, I mentioned this on my Twitter. It is not for everyone. If you're easily offended, do not watch it at all. But I found the FP, that's the name of the movie, it's from 2011. Very good, very enjoyable. I was surprised. It has it's like a parody movie, but it has a certain magic to it also. It's about gang warfare, dystopian gang dystopian dance revolution gang warfare. I give it 2 thumbs up. It's one of the best. It's a movie that left an impact for some reason, and everyone talks like everyone in the movie talks with this sort of wannabe gangsta slang. So you may especially from the 80s and 90s. So you may not be able to follow it. The first 10 minutes you can watch the first 10 minutes free on YouTube, and it only gets better after that. So I would recommend that. And it has a great synth soundtrack too. So I never did play. I think I did play Sven co-op once for this one thing. I barely played much of it. I have not played Factorio yet. That game may not be bright enough for me right now. Again, the Witness, Resident Evil 5, those may be sunny enough games that I can play them until I move. I don't plan on covering visual novel games for Game Dungeon, sorry. I tried playing some of Magica. Somebody's asking about that. It didn't. I don't know. It was kind of entertaining with the sort of nonsense talk, but I don't know. It felt like then the enemies were feeling kind of like, well, not that they're using bullets except for the Vietnam one, but they were feeling kind of bullet spongy to me. Like, this is taking way too much damage just to kill these basic enemies. So it kind of felt like it was tweaked for co-op, which I really have to like the theme of the game for me to go ahead with that then. I only played a little bit of I, Divine Cybermancy. It struck me as, I'm not sure this is going to pay off for me personally if I want to keep playing this game. It was odd, for sure. Someone's asking why I moved to Poland. Well, my then girlfriend was Polish, so I didn't have much time me down, and I lost my spot in the chat. That's bad. Okay, move to Poland. Okay, good. Okay, yeah, I gotta be more discerning with the questions. How hard was it for you to adjust to life outside the U.S.? Well, because I had translation help, not that hard. Although the paperwork was incredible. Like, just I'm still dealing with that. So, like, that never would have gotten done if I hadn't had like help from a friend of my wife's who's an attorney. If you could redo any Game Dungeon episode, which one would it be? I almost don't even want to think about it. Um, I don't even want to think about it. Just keep doing more. If you could choose to remaster one game, which one would it be? Well, maybe just shooting off the cuff. Let's say the original Grand Theft Auto. Although I'm kind of Grand Theft Auto out, so maybe not. I don't know. My brain's frying. Are you glad the EU creates and enforces internet-related laws more efficiently than the US? I don't know all of them, so that could be like a double-edged sword question. I know I can certainly get cheaper internet than the US. Good. Like, it's just no comparison. None. Like not even for cost of living. See, some things are cheaper in Poland, but they come out about the same for cost of living. Other things are just cheaper. Like dentist, incredibly cheaper. Like even if you were getting like average Polish wages compared to U.S. So, and internet's one of those things where even if you were earning like lower proportional wages, it's still way cheaper. So, yeah, I mean that could be the sort. Mic is cracking. Yeah, and I was probably talking for 10 minutes like that. So. Okay, I'll talk more about how long it takes. I'm gonna get pickier on the question. Sorry. I'll pick like 3 more or something. Yeah. I haven't played Dark Souls, so that doesn't. I won't count that one. Just asking what I thought of it. I've only seen a handful of Doctor Who episodes. I may watch more eventually. It was like, from what I saw, it was like a little goofier than I like, but I don't know, maybe. We'll make that a freebie question too. Any chance of a collaboration with Lord Mandalore? I think I saw his stuff. Like, if it's who I'm thinking of, I think he did a PlanetSide and an EVE Online review. I remember thinking his style was a little bit like mine. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's like these collaborations sort of come together when it makes sense. I mean, if he's and then the other thing is, I'm so busy that it's like most of the time I don't like actively seek it out unless I know this person will be like a real perfect fit. Actually, I almost wanted to bring Clint from Lazy Game Reviews on. Well, maybe I'll do it for a follow-up to see if you remember in A New Beginning, I was talking about those screens in the background where I said that one looked like it was like a 90s computer with the Starfield simulator. Maybe he could take his guess on what model that was. So I might bring him on for that. I don't know. But yeah, I have so many things I'm working on that it's just, I'm not going out of my way for collaborations unless it makes sense. But if somebody comes to me about it, maybe I can do it. Any news on VR for non-natively VR games? Maybe. Yeah, Reshade has a filter to get some games working with 3D, but it wasn't that great from what I saw. Maybe I just wasn't trying the right games. Vortex, you can get more games working if it's still not that many. This needs to be better documented. If it has enough similarity with the game it does support, and you change the name of the executable, or no, you just have to set a new profile for the game and tell it to duplicate the, well, one I know I got, well, this is an easy one, but hopefully we can get some harder ones. Like, for instance, they support Quake 2. So Kingpin, I got that working using a Quake 2 profile because it's the Quake 2 engine. Now, hopefully you can get some more working without that. I mean, that aren't exactly the same engine, but Vortex is still like the best hope, I think, right now for that sort of thing. I like letting people guess how old I am. I haven't played many native VR games at all. I don't have controllers. I just have the DK2, so I don't have any input. That's someone's asking my favorite. Okay, I'll pick one more real question, then I think I'll cut it. Let's see. Okay, well, I'll make an exception because I like the VR questions. Do you think things like OpenXR will make the VR situation much better? I have no idea. I mean, I think it's still the same problem that a lot of VR games are kind of like mini games and they're not going to get these huge budgets behind them, or not even huge, but like what you would expect of like a full length game because the market's too small for people with VR stuff. That's why I really wish we could have more we could get more legacy games working in VR and just kind of, they won't be, the gameplay won't necessarily translate over, but it's almost like, hey, you play the game, now don't you want to see the VR world? I would, not everybody will, but hey, let's open up hundreds of games with some real production quality behind them and get an almost VR experience. I mean, it should be a selling point. They're still trying to get the market mass right now. So, okay, this is a good question. And my fiance is Polish, and she's actually coming here to USA, kind of reverse venture as yours. Any advice you'd like to provide? Geez, yes. Watch when you cross the road. When I first came here, my wife noticed that I wasn't even thinking about it consciously, but like when I'd cross, you notice like you seem so like nervous and like alert when you cross the road. Whereas they just walk across crosswalks here without even thinking about it half the time, and I wasn't even thinking about it consciously. It was just, I guess, a survival instinct I kind of picked up in USA. So yeah, that would be like the top piece of advice if you're coming to USA. Watch when crossing the road. Okay, I'll just browse through the rest in case there's any like overtime ones. I like Red versus Blue, but didn't keep up on it very much. I like it when they're not being very serious and they're just screwing around. Oh yeah, there's a recent Russian-only interview with you. Do you have a transcript of your answers in English? Yeah, I guess in email. Maybe I should put that up somewhere. I don't know, or put it up on the site or something. Yeah, okay, I forgot about that. It's nothing that exciting. So, yeah, okay, that's it. I'm gonna go eat, have water. Give at least 3 days for the next game dungeon. So Wednesday earlier. It may not be Wednesday. I'll just see in my mind. I'm thinking, yeah, I should be able to get it done by 3 days. We'll see what that means because I obviously can't trust my time estimates. It's like, what? I don't trust my unconscious mind. Like my dreams get very strange. So I can't really trust my time estimation portions of it. But I think it'll be a good one. This next game has a lot of why did they do this moments. Okay, that's it. Thanks for showing up.